Hi, welcome to Felixstowe Live. I'm Chris, and Felixstowe Live is really a bit unique actually because what we're trying to do is to create a live show on which we can get people who kind of make decisions and do stuff in Felixstowe to talk about what they do. One of the things that we have a big problem with in Felixstowe, as in every other town in the country, is actually people understanding how things work. And the person I've got with me tonight is young Mark Jepson, who is, as you can see by his chain of office, the Mayor of Felixstowe. He is he's important. He does stuff, and I have to say, from my point of view, that don't think I just made a rude sign to our producer. I want to go back to our two shots so we can see us better. That's better. And and we're having all the fun of doing this at the same time as well. So what we want to do is to invite you to ask any questions that stick in your head about how our town operates. From my personal point of view, I always have a big problem because I try to explain how things work and what does who and who's responsible for what. But Mark is the mayor of our town, and that means that in effect, he's the lead figure in our local town council.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a county councillor or a district?
District councillor.
You're a district councillor. District councillors do something completely different, and we'll get onto that. So if you have any questions about how our town works, how our district works, you can ask them now and get the best answer you can give, I hope. So all you have to do is be on Facebook, type in your question, we will see it, and you can ask anything you like, within reason. If anyone wants to know what he's doing later tonight to take him down the pub, he's probably going to say, yeah, all right. But there you have it. So we'll see how it goes. How are you doing over there? Now, we have a lovely technical operator. She's not willing to be on camera, but her name is Lauren Searle, and she's doing a fantastic job, let me tell you. So there you have it. Okay, so Mark, what I wanted to ask you is kind of a bit of a dodgy question, I think, about housing and the way it works. What we have in town at the moment is effectively lots of lovely, nice new houses being built. And they're all mostly at least 2-bedroom, most of them are 3-bedroomed, quite a lot of them are 4-bedroomed. But I wonder how much they are really serving the needs of the town, because in our town we have a lot of single people, we have a lot of older people, and I can say this sitting here because I'm getting old.
I think you're getting old.
The reality is that no one is building houses or flats or apartments or whatever that suit the right set of needs from my point of view.
Yeah.
What do you think? How can we change this? I drove down the road today, got held up in whichever road. Yeah, Cabot Road, with the traffic lights. And the houses there, they're saying luxury homes, 2, 3, 4-bedroom, probably 28-bedroom if you wanted one, they'll do you one. But me, I'd like a nice little 1-bedroom flat that actually costs less to rent. As an old person, I don't want to rent because I'm not going to be here forever. That costs less to rent than the £600 or £700 most people get as a state pension. Yeah. You can't really find anywhere to rent that much. How do we deal with this, Mark?
It's a really good point. You'll know probably Chris, and good evening everybody, and thank you for inviting to me, since you called it this unique event. As you know, I'm not shy, but I've been doing my interviews with the Through Visit Felixstowe, and I think this is a really good medium to get more people out there, more accessible, which I think is really important. Whoever those people are who come on your show, that we're accessible to people and we can try and answer the questions. So in terms of, you say, I'm the Mayor of Felixstowe, so I have that civic responsibility and lead the town council. So I have to be careful not to say I'm not speaking for the town council, but I'm speaking as an individual, as the mayor, so as long as we're sure. I'd hate one of the other parties to say, that isn't my view, so that's right. So I'll try and give you some generic answers.
Okay.
And I don't know if you know actually, but actually my background, apart from the police, was 7 years in social housing.
Right.
So I have a genuine interest in this type of issue because I worked with tenants who were brilliant over at Bury St Edmunds and Haverhill. and you see, the demands they're under and the difficulties they have in trying to get onto the property market. So some time ago, and it was reviewed a couple of years ago, we have our local plan, which is sort of commissioned through East Suffolk Council, and their work with all the statistics from the county council gives us a plan to say that this is our projected demand, this is the type of property we want, because we appreciate in East Suffolk Felixstowe that we've got a relatively high proportion of people who are over 50, and they're very active, and some of these people are going to want to downsize and move into the properties you're talking about. We've also got young people who want to get onto the property market. Now, the difficulty for a lot of them is that East Suffolk or Felixstowe, there's a lot of reasonable employment and good employers, but the wages may not be that high. So how do people get onto the market? So before I was elected in 2016, I think it was, we had the North Felixstowe Garden neighbourhood agreed, which wasn't actually agreed at town or district level, because I'm not there to speak, but it was actually the government who said you're going to have that, because our predictions are that you're going to need that housing. So we're looking at roughly a growth in housing, and I'm going to come on to your specific question, of around about 3,000 properties between now and 2036. So there is quite a time lag. So people, I think, are worried that we're going to have all these houses straight away, and that isn't going to be the case. But if you look at the Deepen High School, a number of those houses are actually going to be social and affordable property, or affordable property. And affordable property is something that we hope that more people will be able to access. And there are going to be 61 properties at Deepen School, and 68% of them are actually going to be affordable housing, which is significantly more than what we would normally expect. So that is, I don't know, Chris, if that answers your question. I know you're doing the technical issues as well, but I'm trying, and I'm trying to help you there. So Deepen is about 61 properties, 68% are going to be affordable rent, which is significantly more than a property development company are told that's what you've got to allocate.
And that's because the council is doing, or the district council is effectively doing it themselves.
Well, we're trying to, and East Suffolk as a whole is trying to do that. Now, having worked in social housing, actually to build social property, social housing property is very, very expensive. And that's the difficulty that companies will have in, because they want to make a profit, of course, is do we make profit? Do we make property socially to allow people to occupy them at a reasonable rent, or do we build them to make a profit? And that's why it's normally about 25%, I think, it's the section 106. That's the problem. So it's a really difficult situation. But East Suffolk is really, I've seen the comments about the Deepen School. I mean, it's very green in the way they've designed it to make it last longer, environmentally friendly. The design is slightly different, but I quite like it. But that is an opportunity for people to be able to access our local market. In terms of the bigger developments, we rely on those companies to give us, to set aside some properties. So it's a long answer, but I understand.
It's difficult, isn't it? The whole thing is difficult because the way we've got it set up, we no longer have a thing like inverted commas council housing.
No.
We still have housing associations and things, but they don't seem as strong as they were in the past.
They're called most of them are called registered social landlords, and some of them a few years ago under I should remember the Chancellor's name, but he went to a social housing scheme up where he was his constituency in Liverpool, and he saw these fabulous properties that they'd built, and his immediate reaction was, well, why are they getting such a cheap price? And he changed the funding for a few years.
Oh, right.
Because he thought people were getting too much. And of course that really upset housing associations, because hang on a minute, we're trying to do something here. So housing associations are building, but they're not building as many as we need. And I know Richard Kerry, who's the housing cabinet lead for, and his team at East Suffolk really are conscious of that, and they are trying to build more. But it does cost us money. So what we have to do sometimes, what we did at Havery, is you sell the undesirable properties to give you some funding to build more.
Okay. I'm going to say one little thing from my point of view. I did a little piece about the new Deben project.
Yeah.
And the level of response I got, which, as you say, you saw, was quite strong, and people were a bit anti. I have a problem with it because I'm old. I can remember a lot of similar kind of developments happening in inner London, and some of those, because of the way they're planned, because of the way people are imposed upon one another, they turn quite bad. And I'm concerned the minute you get a kind of walk around neighbourhood with no actual streets to break up the neighbourhood, I think you may be walking into trouble. But we're going to see.
Well, do you know, and I'm not saying because I'm sitting here, because actually I raised it at a meeting. I understand that view, because if you look at somewhere like the Clements Estate in Haverhill, which in the 1960s won an architectural award, but actually turned into a bit, there's some difficult, that was in a difficult state. I remember in 1982 when I was a PC down there, and back in 2001 when I was the inspector there. Great people in the whole, but they had a lot of multiple occupancy, which don't help, and I'm against those. They serve a purpose, but I think people can be abused and people can be charged a lot of money for them. So I know what you mean about Deben. I hope you're wrong, and I hope my fears aren't realised, because I think if we do need, and I haven't raised this, there's all sorts of people who need housing, and some of them are vulnerable, and we can't just put people who are vulnerable into a pocket somewhere and say you will stay there. No. But we're hoping that's going to integrate community. I mean, you've got cricket behind if you like cricket. So hopefully it will be. There will be people who are older, younger, middle of the road. And this hope we get that and successful. But I know Richard, Kerry and the housing team, that's something that's been raised with it. I'm sure it won't be an issue, but I absolutely take your point.
I think remembering back, the thing that was often said was that architects live in lovely houses in the countryside and design tower blocks. They should be forced to live where they design for a few years.
Well, and actually the other thing, when I was at Havery, we were opening some really nice developments in Bury St Edmunds, which were 1 and 2 bedroom flats. Some of the people were really, majority of tenants, wherever I worked, are good tenants. But of course you'll have any in private, social, doesn't matter where, you'll have some who are really antisocial. And they are the minority, and I'm sure with 61 properties that minority should really be inconsequential, because the majority will hopefully enjoy it.
I'm going to sit like this. Can you say? Yes, you can. It's got my fingers crossed. Do you want to do?
Well, I'll do that. I have great confidence in Richard and his team.
Okay. What we'll do now, young Lauren, find me an interesting question and highlight it, and we'll put it on the screen. So, William Cayley is asking us, how during coronavirus, how do you make sure the town is safe, and what planning goes into keeping people safe, especially during the current pandemic? Does that come under your remit?
It doesn't really, but what we've done, through Visit Felixstowe and Felixstowe Forward, through Norse, who are at the county and the town centre, we've tried to put up signs in the town. I mean, going into a shop is the responsibility of shop owners, but we've tried to make the spaces, the public spaces, sort of COVID informative friendly. Now, we talked about places like the seafront. Do we have a line straight down the middle and you walk that way one way and you walk that? And we thought, that would have been done for the right reason. We thought, it's just not enforceable, and do we want to have an enforceable regime here? No, we don't. But what I've said in all my publications on the flyer and the spotlight and any other ramblings, yourself, Chris, thank you. But it is down to personal responsibility. But if we can do things, like we did have hand sanitisers in the town and the signs, and really we're trying to make people be responsible for their own actions. And I know the shops have worked incredibly hard, because the shops want you in the town.
Of course we do.
Because and if it's a safe environment, people are going. I mean, I've seen the last few days, it's been fantastic.
And I think, I know a few of the shopkeepers, you know most of them, I think.
I've spoken to a lot of them there.
But I think the reality seems to be that the shopkeepers are generally feeling pretty happy.
They
so
are.
again, we can do that, but the reality seems to be that they're generally pretty happy.
Yeah, and what I would say to people is we have a fantastic high street, but we also have a really good offer in the side streets. Orwell Road, the Crescent, primarily, and there's some really lovely people there trying really hard to make a living and give you a really good service. And part of when I'm going to be working with the bid manager, Shalene Gledhill, I've met with her once. It's not my role, it's not the town council role to manage the bid, it's the town to run the bid. But what we can do, what I can do, is to try and work with her and others that we promote these lovely little venues.
Okay, thank you. So that should do us for William. What else have we got that's interesting and exciting? Do you work with local businesses?
Well, as mayor, I'll work with anybody. I mean, that is, you know, I think being the mayor this year has really changed how we operate, or how a mayor operates in my way, because we couldn't do the civic functions. So what I've been looking to do is work with anybody who wanted a bit of support, a bit of encouragement, a bit of a profile either through our Visit Felixstowe, whatever, because I think it's really important that we do, or I do, anything for the town that promotes whatever that may be. And I went and saw Lorraine down at the Bandbox. Now, as a result of our Visit Felixstowe interview, Lorraine had over 2,600 views. And what I say to people is, if you get 10% of those people come and buy, purchase a drink, do something, then that's great. So I've slightly changed the mould a little bit. I'm happy to do it, and if somebody wants support, I'm happy to deliver it. Excellent.
And I have to say that from my point of view as a kind of citizen, really, a citizen journalist, someone called me, dreadful thing. I find that I think that you are doing a great job, because you are out there punching all the time, which I think is the key to getting results. You've got to be out there, you've got to be in front of people, and you've got to be talking to people.
Exactly.
Right, come to me now, let's have a look at that question. Good Lord. Well, Claire Barlow, you're a very kind and wonderful person. I don't know whether I do a wonderful job for Felixstowe, but I think the mayor does better than me. Is there a grant I could get? Hey, I'm impressed. Is there a grant I could get to continue my amazing work? Well, no, only a long lifespan thing.
Continue what work? I couldn't hear
my amazing work.
Whose amazing work?
Mine.
Yours? Well, you never know. East Suffolk has all sorts of grants, so you don't know. But bounce back funds, those
I don't actually. I spend about 40 quid a month out of my pension doing this. And as an old boy, I suppose I can afford to do it. But it'd be nice.
But I you know, I think it's also worth, whether that would fit this, but it's also worth people knowing that as district councillors, we have an enabling community budget. We have the Felixstowe Peninsula Community Partnership, which I chair, which is money more for health projects. So we've worked with the doctors. You know, we've said to Dr. Feltwell, Dr. Driscoll, what can we do? We gave them money for blood pressure machines so they can go into the community. So there is funding out there, and I'm one of these. I'm quite able to go to somebody and say, "Do you want something? Because I've got some money. If we can do it transparently and it fits an objective, let's get that out there."
The trouble is, at my age, I don't know how long I'm going to be here to spend the money.
Well, let's hope we're all a bit here longer.
So she said, Felixstowe Line was a Felixstowe Line was a lifeline when she couldn't get to Felixstowe. Well, we just do our best, don't we, actually? That's the truth, Claire. We just do what we can. And same as the mayor, really. We don't get paid, we do what we can. And in reality, we have a go at stuff. And I think that's all we can do. Okay, well, I think what we'll do at this point, young Lauren, technical operations, what we'll do is press the button on the video if we can, and we'll meet, the lady we're going to meet now is Michelle Last. And Michelle oh right, sorry, she can't hear me. They can't hear me. What persuaded you to open the business?
I taught myself to crochet about 3-4 years ago, YouTube special. And thought I'd just buy a load of wool, and then you buy a load more wool, and then in the end ended up with a shop.
with the shop full?
Yep.
All for your own use?
No, it sort of stems from one thing to another, and I thought there's a lot of people in the area, and there's not a lot of option to get yarn from. So
when did you actually open?
Officially, I've been open full time. I think we're in week 8 now, and it's going well. Lots of new customers and.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So do you deliver?
Yeah, I deliver all around the UK. I have lots of customers on Facebook and eBay and post off all around the UK, yeah. I'm on Facebook, Crafty Lasty Yarn. Find me on there where I put all special offers and things. And I'm also doing a live video every Monday at 10:30. Log in and that will be the weekly special and a quick tour of the shop.
So here we are back again. Now, something interesting has come up that I really didn't know about, because I don't know a lot of stuff, really, let's be honest. I've gathered there's a problem with the Wool Bar now moving to their new shop. Is that
that's really encouraging.
Oh,
I think we were so, well, unless you know otherwise.
No, I don't. I think it's happening.
I think they're moving down to the old post office, which I think is great. Yeah. They run a fantastic service. And Debbie, who runs that, I don't know if people have seen these
the toppers.
Yes, toppers. Yeah. And there's some brilliant ones. There really are. But it's just such a shame. The one on High Road East, somebody possibly had a few drinks one night and walked home. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt, whoever they may be. But somebody has taken it. And it's, to me, there are so many wonderful people, and I mean that, who operate in Felixstowe, work in charities, local organisations. And Debbie spends her time doing that. And some fool, inconsiderate fool, has taken it.
Yeah. And
really, if somebody knows where that topper is, please bring it back. You know, drop it at Debbie's, put it back where it was, because that's just such a shame. And she did that for nothing. A real shame. And
people doing stuff that brightens up our scenery.
Yeah.
Really, really does need to be seen, doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
really
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we were walking along Rosebery Avenue, I think, the other day, and there was another one. Yeah. And you go across and have a look. There's a positive message there.
And you see them. The other thing is, you see them everywhere you go. We went. We were away for a few days, a couple of weeks ago, and we saw, I suppose, in different little villages, we saw one in almost every village.
Yeah.
With little toppers with there was one that had a work of art on it. Really, it was a postman's van. There was a church, and there was a little village hall there as well. Someone had spent hours on it.
I know, and they do. They spend. And the other one is Victoria, where we are today, Victoria Petchy, who's now got her business down at Beach Street, which is another great asset to Felixstowe. She wants to do, or came up with an idea of a duck trail, or something like that along the lines of the elephant trail. And again, we'll talk to Shalene. She didn't have a lot on her plate, but I mean, the idea of Victoria was brilliant. I really liked that, but it wasn't the right time. Then we had COVID, of course. But you know, again, we've got local people got some really good ideas about things, and I'd love to see that work, because as you say, people will go and have a look. And if we can have a duck or a seal trail, whatever,
do something different. Something different and exciting and interesting. Oh, what have we got? Yes, great. Yeah, actually, William, that was something I was going to say. Can you just? I'll make her press buttons. You see, she's good.
She's head of production.
She has found. I have to tell you that Lauren has actually found her role in life. She's going to be out there, and she's going to be applying to BBC and ITV. Like mad. She didn't apply for a job with me any time, an old employer, but I can't afford to pay her. There you go. But anyway, no, the thing I wanted to say really about at this point was, we're doing this now, you're out there watching, do get involved. If you have a viewpoint that you want to express clearly and actually through a medium like this rather loudly to the rest of the world, you can do that. I'm very happy to have guests along on these evenings. As you can see, the Mayor and I are sitting comfortably apart. We're very safe. But if you want to come and join in, you can join in person in this way. You can join in through technical systems, because we can pick you up at home from your laptop. So in reality, you can join in, and the more feedback we have from you, the more interesting people will want to come on this show and have a chat with you. Because that's what it's about. It's about people answering your questions and about people explaining what you do, as the Mayor has been kind enough to do tonight. And I think, to be honest with you, my feeling about this is fantastic. And if you like it, you must let us know, really, so that we can do more. There you go. Young Lauren, well, what are we going to do next? We're going to see if are there any more questions that we need to answer. There was one, I think, wasn't there? Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, it certainly is great to see new businesses in Felixstowe. I wanted to ask you about that as well, because I know how keen you are to support new businesses. I see we've got a new tier fund shop opening up the road. I don't know whether you saw that one. It's got a kind of cake. It was where the nice Hungarian ladies did.
Oh, yes.
But we seem to be doing quite well, really.
And we had Madison's open just up the road here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Onion Vinyl record shop.
Yeah, nice bloke,
Steve.
Steve.
Steve, love it. There's a little story there. He was part of Old Time Music in 4th Street, and he lived next door to my parents.
Right.
Who my father bought the house next door because an artist called Paul Weiser had lived there, and Dad didn't want to live in any. He was an architect and an artist, and he thought, no, I'll wait until the right property comes up. And I saw Steve when we opened up, visit the town on the 18th of April, and he sort of looked at Stephen Ramsey, and said, I know your boss. Well, I wasn't his boss, but I'll take it. And I looked at him and thought, I know him. And he said, I'm from next door to your mum and dad. And he said, I'd love to see you, Mum. And I brought down here, and that was a heart-wrenching when they saw each other. Non-COVID, I have to say, grabbed each other, hugged each other.
Nice.
But what Steve said about my dad, and he was a very modest man. Steve, when he was younger, played drums in the band. Yeah, he was part of the record shop, and he liked parties. And he was conscious, living next door to my mum and dad, above the record shop, that sometimes he was a bit noisy. And he said, do you know, all your dad would ever say to me the following day or the day after, you have a nice time last night? And he said, never once did he actually infer that you were being noisy, because they actually like to hear people enjoy themselves. And that was such a touching moment. So I'm so glad I've seen Steve. I've already bought a record off him. He sold me a double album with a single album I've already got.
Excellent.
But he's having chatted to him. And again, I'll pass his details on. He has some fantastic ideas about record fairs and things. So possibly having some live bands. His enthusiasm is brilliant. So I love the independents. I shop. Most of my shopping is done in the independent town. What's it? Hazlitt. I'd never eaten Hazlitt before.
Oh, no.
Until we were in the weren't we in the shop, weren't we?
In the Dean Butcher.
Stephen Butcher's.
Yeah.
And I was in there yesterday buying some more.
I regularly go in there and buy some liver.
Yes.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Liver and onions. Listen, there's something else. There's a couple of other things I want to ask you about local businesses. And the first one is just, actually, this is me being nosy, to be honest with you. Natwest. I walked past Natwest today and took a couple of snaps, put them on the page, because work is going on at Natwest. Now, I know that there was a planning consent, I think a couple of years ago, for converting the upper stories to flats. There is an existing planning permission for converting the lower floor to A3, i.e. a restaurant. But I don't know what the story is on the changes now, because of course we've got new rules, haven't we, about what you can do with it. I just wondered if you knew what they were going to be.
Well, Roger Abbott, who used to run the Chamber of Commerce, I didn't know Roger, lovely man, did a lot of good for the town. He's been very committed in wanting to create a hub in the town, so that business hub, community hub, and I'm working with East Suffolk about looking at a potential that we can do that. And one of the possible venues is the Natwest, which we've gone and had a look. But of course, it's going to be expensive. So we are looking, whether that'll happen, we don't know, but East Suffolk officers are looking at that potential. We've spoken to companies like Emmaus, Job Centre about where they can do training. So we are, again, that's part of I'm not sure what role it is really. East Suffolk Mayor, I'm not sure. But anyway, that passion for the town, what can we do to get things going? So we are looking for a venue to try and have a hub for the things I've just described. And that might be one.
Well, I'd be delighted.
Long way to go.
Yeah, I understand that. But the reality is, it strikes me that in your job as mayor and as district councillor, excuse me, that's a job that you can do. You can actually act as a kind of glue to put things together, can't you? Which has got to be good.
Yeah, and we're certainly trying to do that.
Okay. So I'm looking forward to seeing that change anyway over the period of time, because they're now working there,
right.
and the building itself is so nice.
Yeah.
The other question I wanted to ask you about was Marks and Sparks. There doesn't seem to be any progress on a couple of the big shops, Marks and Sparks, Edinburgh Woollen Mill. They seem to be kind of sticky.
Yeah.
Is it just because of the size of the places, or what?
I think it's the size. Councillor Steve Wiles, who's in the retail industry, will say a lot of big companies are moving away from the bigger stores. Yeah. There was a planning application for retail at the bottom, flats above. That was eventually, I think, either withdrawn or rejected. But that hasn't come back to our local planning. But some of these bigger places, I would like to see that we cut in half, and that there were perhaps two industries went into perhaps one. Right. Anything I think that can get, and I think what Felix, and you touched on it, Chris, what Felix has been brilliant at doing this year, in the last couple of years, is the resilience of some of those local independent shopkeepers. Yeah. I mean, if you look at Lewis at Crescent Cafe, Stefan down at the Albachiara, they both opened 3 or 4 weeks before the pandemic. They're still going, and their food, as my son's just walking past it, he's obviously not watching this, Chris. I'll have a word with him when I get back. But people like that and others, Greenhouse Cafe, they've kept going. Yeah. And they probably could have said, actually, enough's enough. But I've been into both of them since they reopened. I've enjoyed meals there, and the greenhouse. So I think and Steve at the Onion Vinyl has said, this is such a vibe in this town, and we've got to capture. I'm sure Shalene will do a really, really good job in promoting this and helping the high street become even more healthier than it appears at the moment. But of course, we know it's been really difficult times for people.
But I think looking at it now, I do, as you probably know, I do a little walk through the town once every couple of weeks, and the look of the place, I think, is good. We look at people and we talk to people, and you and I both do the same. We talk to the shopkeepers, and we get feedback, and the feedback is consistently good, and they seem to be doing all right. Yeah. And so we kind of.
Yeah. and I know people were very. Some people do this about the pedestrianisation of the high street, of the main street. But actually, if you look at, since we had the weather, and as David Harries told me from Russell Smith, the wind comes up the hill and it can be damn cold enough to piss people off. Well, luckily that wind hasn't been too bad. And when I walked through the town, I was in Coes the other day, and there's so many people around. But again, it's just trying to remind people, go around the side streets as well, because there's a big offer there, and we want to make sure they're supported.
Okay, we're going to have a break from pictures of us. We're going to have a look at the pictures in here, which is Amy's clip, but there's no sound on the clip, so I'll just give you a rough idea of what's happening here. Okay, so we're actually filming this in the 142 Gallery in Hamilton Road, and the gallery this week has got an exhibition by a lady called Amy Gladding. She is a smashing person, very nice, very clever as well with photography, obviously. She takes photographs and she teaches photography. And today I came in to interview her, but all her students turned up. So I'm coming back to interview her tomorrow, which will be a benefit for me. So that's what's happening with that. I thought I'd just give you a look at that though, because as far as the world is concerned, Amy is here until Wednesday, 4 o'clock, and she'll be actually here from 10 till 4 every day. And she's one of those people you can actually have a natter with, and she'll gladly tell you about the photographs, who took them, where they were taken, and stuff like that. So the reality is, come in, have a look at that. Nobody who exhibits in the 142 Gallery actually expects you to buy anything. They expect you to come in and be interested, and I think that's really key, and that's really worthwhile. So I'm a big supporter of this. I will be talking to Amy tomorrow, and we'll be showing a clip of that tomorrow so that you can meet her and have a chat with her. What else did I want to mention at this point? Oh yeah, we're going to do more of these because I'm really pleased with the feedback we've got. people are interested. We look as if we've got a few people watching. How many people watching? 3. No, more than that. So I think we've got about 15 people watching at the moment, but we will, of course, get hundreds and hundreds over the coming 24 hours. What can you say? I'm delighted you could spare us the time, Mr. Mayor, to come and see us. We will do this again. I'd like to make you a regular every few weeks if you're willing to do that.
If you've got people who tolerate it, Chris, you know me, I'm happy to support it.
I think the thing about it that I like is that you know stuff, and where you can, you'll share it. And that I think is a keynote to what we want from our mayor and from our councils, all 3 of them.
Yeah,
and at some point, we'll get onto the thing where we talk about councils, and maybe we'll try and do a package on that in the next few weeks, and give people a clue as to how it all works. And that's me for this evening. I don't know what you think. We've been online for just under 3/4 of an hour. I hope people have enjoyed it. I hope you've given us lots of likes. We'll find out later. But in the meantime, my name's Chris. We've had the presence of the Mayor of Felixstowe, that's Mark Jepson, and young Lauren has been working her socks off over there pressing buttons. I don't know what she's been doing, but I think it's all looked all right, hasn't it?
I think so.
Hope so.
You've done well. Fantastic.
And if you've enjoyed the show, get back to us, tell us what you like, tell us what you want to know more about, because I'd be delighted to actually try and do what I can. Well, Lauren, I think you probably know which button to press.
Yes, I do.
Go for it, mate.
Bye-bye, Felixstowe.